Today I'm talking about something, if this isn't for anybody, it's for me. And something that I've been going through, and it's a little 4-letter word called rest. Some of us are great at it, some of us don't need it, and some of us can't wait for it. So just quickly, about rest and why it's important and where it's come from. First of all, we have a creator that's created and designed the earth and everything in it. And we want to follow his instructions for our fullest benefit. So God, the creator, created creation. There has to be 3 things for creation to happen. I thought this was really interesting. And they all have to coexist at the exact same time. And those 3 things are time, space, and matter. And so if they don't coexist at the same time, it can't be possible that you can have one without the other. Without space, there can't be matter. Where would you put it? And if there was matter and space but no time, when would you put it? The Bible starts off in Genesis by actually proving this. And it says, in the beginning, time, God created the heavens, space, and earth. And to me, it's super important to know that we have a creator who has created us and made us to operate in a certain way. And it's really interesting when you look at that creation, when we look at who God is and find out that he's kind of a creator in 3 parts, a trinity, if you will. He actually created his creation in a trinity of trinities. Time has past, present, and future. Matter has solid, gas, and liquid. And space has length, width, and height. I thought that was fantastic revelation of how God creates things within things. And it's interesting because God can't be affected by those things because he's created those things. Just like the guy on my little laptop. The creator created this. He's not in it changing the letters and the numbers. He's outside of it. He's written a warranty. He's written a user manual. And if I follow it, then his created thing will work properly for me. And so let's skip down to Genesis 1. If you haven't read Genesis, the first 5 chapters of Genesis blow my mind. There's so much in it. It's kind of like how the world was formed and then how it got destroyed, and then the 500 other pages are how did we fix this. So Genesis is awesome. Pa is teaching every Wednesday. We are in Genesis. I missed last week. We are in Genesis 10. Okay. Ooh. All right. We're in Genesis 10. Going into 11 with Pa. Wednesday night. So Genesis 1 verse 26. Then God said, let us, he's talking about himself in the words us, a trinity, in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created in his image, in the image of God, he created them, male, and he created them female. And this is a God, on the 6th day, he created creation in his image. Before that, he created light, he created darkness, he created everything. Imagine, there's a guy named Louis Giglio, and he has this video about how really small we are and how big God is. And he shows the picture of the sun, and we think that's super big. And it affects our daily lives. We get a suntan or a sunburn. And the sun is massive. And then they found these other stars that make the sun look like a little top of a pin. And that's how big his creation is. And then on the sixth day, he created something in his own image. He created us. Sounds like a lot of work in those 6 days. And then if we go to chapter 2, and he says, thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all the work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on the seventh day, he rested from all work of the creating that he had done. And so he created all of creation in those 6 days. He created the earth, the planets, the sky. He formulated all the mathematical, scientific components of everything to make sense within itself. And you know, for the last how many hundreds of years, science is trying to even figure that out. It's interesting, the study of science, you look way back, and really science comes up with a hypothesis, and they try and prove it, and they come up with theories, and most of those theories is really to put doubt into God and really challenge God. And science now is actually overcoming some of those what are they called? Hypothesis. Big word. And they're actually proving things. I was watching a creationist against 3 professors of evolution, and the way he was proving the case for creation, everybody that was listening must have changed, because the 3 guys that were proving evolution looked foolish. And it looked like such a dumb thing. And then I remember a friend of mine, they were over for just a visit, and they have little kids, and one of the kids talked about evolution, because we're watching National Geographic. And it's like, how would you get that? Oh yeah, that's being taught in our schools. That's in our textbook. And this guy that was proving evolution talked about a football game. And he's like, you can get a beer at a football game. It doesn't mean it's a part of the football game. It has nothing to do with football, just like evolution in our textbooks. He's trying to get that out of the textbooks. He's a phenomenal apologeticist guy. I forget. I'll tell you after. Okay. It's a long name. I don't want to embarrass myself right now. And then you see on the seventh day, God taking rest. What I don't know what it looks like for God taking rest, but the word is in there, and this is what the word means. The word rest can mean to cease, to relax, to recline, to refresh, to be peaceful, to take a break from something. So I don't know what it looked like on the seventh day for God to rest, but I bet there was freshly squeezed lemonade, maybe a lazy boy, and he stopped doing what he was doing. Where do we see rest? Where do we see how God has made us in his image? God, the Creator, has designed us the way he is. He's designed us with a spirit, soul, and body. You look at the Trinity of God with a spirit, with how he came to earth as a man in Jesus, and God our Father. So he's designed us. He's designed everything that we see and where we are. And so you figure that the designer would know something about how we can function in our best ability. So our designer, God, has actually given us some instructions. You can find them in this book if you haven't read them. They are all in here. So when we kind of see the rest thing first, we see Moses and the Jewish people, the chosen people of God, when they were leaving Egypt, and God wanted to instruct them on how to function and be in relationship with him. So you might have heard these 10 commandments. They've been going around for a long time. And we first see them in Exodus 23. Okay. My Bible and my notes are not matching. So in Exodus 20, Moses ascended Mount Sinai to receive these instructions. So just kind of in a paragraph, paraphrasing. Number 1, number 2, and number 3 were kind of instructional on, hey, there's other things that can take your time and money and energy, but stay away from them and focus on me, the Creator. The one that gave you life will give you all else that you need. And so he says, don't have any other gods before me. Don't make other idols. And do not take the name your Lord, your God, in vain. And so God is saying there are things that will attract you. There are things that will give you life and validation and hope in return for your time and energy and focus, but they'll take you down a bad road. If you look at alcohol or drugs, let's say, or relationships, those things where we can put our time, our money, our thoughts, everything into, our heart and soul into, and what are we expecting in return? We're expecting life and validation. God's saying that stuff is going to be there, and the temptation to get life and validation are out there, but get it from me. Because I am the source. I am your creator. I created you to need me. The 4th commandment out of the 10 is remember the Sabbath. The actual word Sabbath means something like to rest. So he's in number 4 of, hey, keep me as God, keep me as your hope and validation. Number 4 is take a break. Number 4 is over murder. That's interesting. It's like, hey, take a break. And at the same time, like, don't commit adultery, don't steal stuff, and don't kill people. But take a break's way up here. That's super important. Don't bear false witness. Don't covet. That means don't be jealous of other people's stuff. Sometimes that's hard. People have nice stuff. But above all things, except for go to God as your life and validation, he's saying rest. Take a break. Cease. I have a few things. I have a car. And due to driving that car, there are some strict instructions on maintenance. I don't know if you've actually read the user manual. Most of us don't like to read the user manual. We like to use the product. But if you read this user manual, you will see if you buy a brand new car, which I've never had, this is just what I hear, is that upon buying a brand new car for a certain amount of kilometers, you can only drive that car so fast. And then at a certain amount of kilometers, you have to give an oil change, and then another oil change, and then another oil change. And you have to use a certain kind of gas. And you can't use diesel. There's some strict rules of owning a car. Another thing is when you see the yearly maintenance. And at this amount of kilometers, you have to change the transmission fluid and get a rad flush and all these things. Why? So that we can spend money, so that we can be inconvenienced? No, it's for my vehicle to run to the best of the ability of that vehicle. How that vehicle was made was designed to do these things so that it can keep going without any problems. And then when you're on your trip to Toronto, you don't break down in Peterborough. Be like, oh my goodness, I should have listened. I have no oil. It's a big deal, right, Isabel? Having oil in your car is a big deal. It makes noises. The car actually tells you. There's little lights. Is there noises that the car will make, I believe. I remember once my brother got an oil change and they forgot to put in the oil filter. And I think he drove a couple, maybe 100 kilometers and they gave him a new motor because they forgot to put in the plug or the oil filter. So the designer, the manufacturer of that product knows exactly the best way for that product to work. The other thing that a lot of us have are computers, and they say to defragment the disk and remove dust from the internal fans periodically, and this is so your computer won't overheat and won't fry the hard drive. An AC unit. If you have an AC unit and you're like, it's just not giving me the cold enough air, here's a tip. All AC units have a little filter, and you pull that out, and if it's covered in dust and black stuff, then you just rinse it underwater and put that back in, and your air conditioner will be as good as new. A furnace, yearly maintenance. I found that out. If you don't do yearly maintenance, at some point, your furnace will stop working. And for some odd reason, the furnace will stop working when it's minus 25. I don't know why that happens, but I guess it's to teach you a lesson to put in the $50 or $100 to maintain it. This is an interesting thing that I found in Exodus according to rest. And I just wanted to relate it to us today. So in Exodus 23, verse 10. And as those 10 rules, the 10 commandments, they seem super simple, but there's like subsections to a lot of these. And so for the Jewish people, this is God's design for them to live in the fullness of how they were created. The Sabbath law, so the laws of rest. Here's one of them. For 6 years you will sow your fields and harvest the crops. So for 6 years, as an apple farmer, you will raise your apples, grow your apples, prune your apple trees, do everything you need to do to grow your apples and eat them and sell them. But during the 7th year, let the land lie unplowed and unused. Then the poor among you may get food from it, and the wild animals may eat what you leave. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. So 6 days you do work, but on the 7th day do no work, so that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the slave born your household, and the alien as well may be refreshed. So God is saying on the 7th year of you owning a field, being a farmer, let everything grow as is, let the weeds come up, let the birds and the poor people, the pheasants and all those people that are in your communities come and get what they need, and let the rest of it rot on the ground. And so to me, that's a great plan. That's like, okay, well, I guess we're not working this year. We get the year off. Why don't we do this today? We don't do this because we can't compete with the world around us. And so one of the reasons why we don't do this today, for the most part, is that science has found a way to replenish the fields. Because God's saying this, He knew for the land to be blessed, for the land to produce fruit for you, He knew that the land needed to have rot and decay. And so that the soil would be nutrient rich again and be able to grow your crops. And then God was blessing the year before that to get double. So God was actually looking out for the people. He knew how He designed everything to effectively run at its fullest capacity. So science has found a way to overcome those issues. Cost to the farmer. If you've ever watched the news in Canada, a lot has to do with weather and then farming. And it was bad for the farmers this year, great for the farmers this year, and so on. And so there's a cost to the farmers because it's such a competitive market that who in their right mind, if they have 7,000 acres, is going to leave 1,000 of that dormant and then keep doing that every year kind of deal. It's too much cost to the farmers. And then I think the other one that I thought of is that we don't listen to the Creator. We don't trust him. We don't rely on him. And I don't think we believe him. Because we all say, hey, this is my land. I got this. This guy's doing it that way. I can't afford, and I don't have the time to sit on land like that. And so we actually aren't trusting God with how he's designed us. I find that human beings are the exact same. And I've seen, in my short amount of years, I've seen some massive changes in our society. One obvious one is the longer you work, the more money you make, right? I was around when stores weren't open on Sundays. There was no such thing as an open store on a Sunday. Very few stores today are closed. Canadian Tire is always closed on a Sunday. Did you know that? I know, sometimes it's not? That changed? Hey, somebody Google that. But it was always closed on a Sunday, and I always thought that was inconvenient. Why would they do that? But those are some things that has really changed in our society about stores being open on Sundays. Another big one is smartphones. Smartphones let you be connected 24/7 if you want to. I remember back in the day, I remember even working at Jericho Road, and I never had a smartphone. And I remember that every day at about 3:30, I would have to go back to my office and check my email and just make sure there was no emergencies. You know, I would check them and write back, holler at people for a half hour to an hour every day. I remember when I got my smartphone, I thought, oh my goodness, this is so much more convenient. I can answer people. I can, make requests. I can deal with stuff when I think of it and when it comes in. And I remember thinking, like, this is the most convenient thing that science could have ever made. But the reality is, I can answer emails on Saturday and Sunday and never really take a break. Not that I have floods of emails coming in, but there are people that do. I know my brother-in-law worked for Prime Minister Harper as issues management, and he had his cell phone on. It was 24/7. He was always on it. There was thousands of emails coming in a day, and his job was to go through them. I know my wife at her work, I think she gets about 1,000 emails a day. So this keeps you plugged in 24/7, 7 days a week. God actually says, if you do it my way, you will produce more, you will feed more people, you will make more money if you do it the way I'm asking you to. So it's no different than a car. You might feel, hey, I don't have time for an oil change. Or, wow, the price of oil got really expensive. I'm just going to skip an oil change. You look at the consequences of some of just the way that our fields and our farmers and our scientists have been running things. You look at the popular word now, GMOs, and you look at food and how altered it is to be able to grow in so many different environments that our bodies actually have a hard time digesting it. Allergies, if you're in your 40s, what's a peanut allergy? What's celiac? We never heard of that until the last, 10, 15 years. The other thing is that countries and land aren't being blessed by God because we're not doing it God's way. There is actually good land turning into desert land. You see that a lot in the Mediterranean, the Mesopotamian Valley, and the Lost Plateau in China. And you even see that with the Sahara Desert, and it's getting bigger and bigger. So there's consequences on not living how we're designed. Rest is one of the manufacturer's instructions for us. It's pretty high up there. I've been learning about rest a little bit. I was diagnosed with severe sleep apnea in January, and went through all these sleep tests because I knew that something was happening within me. I knew that I didn't have tolerance. I didn't have love flowing out of me. I had bags under my eyes were always watering, I was cranky, I felt like I was never getting rest and sleep. And so going through all the testing and getting this diagnosis, yay! And so my life kind of sucks now at bedtime because I hook up to this machine that breathes for me. And since January, I've been on this process of actually getting rest and getting sleep. I'm still struggling with it because they changed my medication, my prescription, if you will, on how this machine helps me breathe. So I am struggling. This week has been a struggle. So it was interesting because they say that this has been happening for many years in my life. I only started noticing it for the last 2. So it's interesting, just like you drive a car and you don't have oil in it, you don't really notice it until it starts screaming at you, until it pulls over, until what?
It shakes.
It shakes. Apparently your vehicle is going to shake you so that you're going to look at it. But it's the same as rest. I didn't know the problem was not resting. And they said to me that I am not sleeping. I'm sleeping every hour. In every hour, I am waking up 32 times in 1 hour. And how they do a wake up is that I stop breathing for more than 10 seconds. So they said in an hour, you're not sleeping hardly at all. And so I didn't even know that. How is it possible that something so important to me, I don't even know? And I think we can go through life without even knowing that you have to clean the filter of your computer. Most of you just said, I have that on my computer. Yes, every year you should give your computer to somebody that knows what they're doing so it doesn't fry the insides of it, because dust collects. All the people that do that are like, all the people that don't are like, what? My computer breathes? There is a fan. God has made us in His image. God rested on the 7th day. God's pretty important. And He's saying for you to rest. It's His 4th commandment. And I think we can argue this, right? We can be like the farmers in the fields going, well, we have extra science today. This really doesn't apply to us. We can't compete with the rest of the world, and we make excuses. And I think the best one for me, I come up with is, well, Jesus came to earth to fulfill the law. So, right, there's no law anymore. It doesn't apply to us. We're good. We just have faith in Jesus. We believe. We are one with the Father. Our relationship is restored, and we don't need this law. It doesn't apply to us. But the reality of the law is actually to benefit us and not control us. Right? But those are my excuses. You probably have your own. I look at the rules of the road. Yeah, they might not really apply to you if you don't want to do them. But they're not there to control you. They're not there to manipulate you. They're there so that we can get the fullest adventure out of our vehicles and keep each other safe. And I look at this law of rest and how important it is for us. If God does it, why don't we? And I think in our society we've lost do we even do it? I realize something, that when I'm sleeping, a lot of stuff happens without me. Like when I wake up and I go outside, the grass has been watered overnight. It's amazing. All of the grass and things have grown. And there is a lot of stuff that has happened without me. And I just realized I'm really not that important. I look at busyness and I see that in our culture now. And people, I've learned to shudder when I hear it is, I'm too busy. And sometimes I say it, I understand that. But busyness is never a reason, it's always an excuse. Because if you want to make the time for something, you will. So sometimes I don't want to do something, and I'm like, yeah, and I can get away with it, right? Because I'm super busy, and I have a lot going on. But I really try not to say that. And I'm trying to get the language of, no, I don't want to do that. Or at least come around a little more tactfully. But I really believe that busyness isn't a reason. It's always an excuse. And I really look at some of the leaders that I've seen around, and I've even done it myself, especially working at a rehab center and having so much go on and so little resources to hire people. And there's this pride of being busy. Like, when I talk to people, I'm this busy and I have this going on in my life, and my kid plays this kind of hockey, and I have calls coming in from all over Canada and detox center, and I'm speaking here and speaking there and doing all this stuff. I'm so busy. I'm sorry, we can't do lunch. And it's like, I'm so important and the world needs me that I don't need you. Right? And I think we get addicted to busyness. And the pride of busyness, to me, is burnout. And I don't know if you're coming from the CEO world or if you're coming from the addiction world. But in both of them, we don't rest. And we might say that, hey, I'm curled up in the fetal position and I'm resting, but you're actually recovering, looking to do it more. And so your body, over the course of time, over the years, you haven't rested a day because you've been recovering. And then you've been filled with guilt and shame. And then you've been thinking about, how do I do this again? How do I get this ease and comfort in me? And if you're the CEO guy, you haven't stopped thinking about sales and business meetings and investing money and all that stuff. And there's been no rest. And so you can look at both sides of the scale, and I think it's all of us. It doesn't matter if you're running $1 million corporation or a junkie on the streets of Ottawa. It's neither of us have no rest. This is my tip of ceasing on a Sabbath. Is I try, for me, I need to keep things simple. When I look at all the 10 commandments and all the subsections, I do believe there's like 613 of them, and then they've added a whole lot more. And I like to keep things simple. You might be a little bit like me. So this is what I do. We pick a day of the week, which for me and my wife, a Saturday works best, and we do no have-tos. I have to do laundry. You should have done it yesterday, right? We have to get groceries. I have to go out of my way on a Friday or on a Thursday to go get the stuff done so that we don't need to do it on a Saturday. And we're not 100% perfect on this, but we do pretty good. And my wife recharges through people. Like, she need to talk to people, I need to be with people, the more the merrier. I like screaming and shouting and making waffles and pancakes and bacon. And when she leaves here, she doesn't want to leave here. She's like, whoo, yeah. And I'm like, all these people, I just need quiet. You know how I recharge is, I might seem like an extrovert, but I'm actually an introverted extrovert. I like to recharge alone. I like to recharge with a person at a coffee shop. And we don't even need to talk. We just look at each other. We look at all the other people and make comments about those people and make comments how much Starbucks charges for a coffee. And go, well, I used to drink cocktails and they cost $8. A $4 coffee, it's nothing. And 3 hours can go by and it's like, wow, that was cool. Let's go home, take a nap. We recharge differently, so me and my wife have to really agree. What we've come to is agree on what ceasing looks like. So Vicky will be like, okay, well, we're going over to Chris's house and we're going to watch a movie, and to me that stresses me out, and so I have to, okay, why is it stressful? The kids are all in bed. Like, it's not a big deal. I'll probably watch a movie anyway. He has a 300-foot screen and subwoofers under the seats, and it's kind of, okay, we'll do that. And then she'll say, hey, we need to do this, and go for dinner with these. And I'm like, okay, no, let's not do that. And so we've learned to agree on what ceasing looks like for us. So that's my encouragement, is take a day, like a full day, not like, a little part of a day, but a full day, because God took a full day, and maybe you think you are, but I don't think you're better than God. So if he can take a full day, I think you can take a full day, and I think you can learn to afford it. But I think as you do that, God will bless you and give you more than you need, give you more than what you thought you could do on that one day. I think he's going to add stuff to your life that is actually going to make up and create more days than you were given in those 6 days. I really feel that he's going to bless you that way. So my encouragement is, take that one day off a week, whatever day works best for you. If you have children, I don't know. I don't know what that means to cease from children, so I apologize. My children are 19 and 20, so I can just be like, go out and do something. But I'm sorry. I didn't really think about this, so my advice to parents with young kids, I don't. We can talk about it after.
You can rest in 18 years.
Yeah. You can rest in 18 years. Feel the encouragement. Don't hurt yourselves, guys. No, I want to talk about it. If you want to talk about it after, I will talk about it. But for me, it's the simplicity of no have-tos and the intentional weekly rhythm. A guy that I follow very few guys, but Kerry Newhoff, he's a church planner. He has a massive church in southern Ontario, and he's phenomenal at spotting things and encouraging people that are getting into trouble, and really good at spotting church culture and what not to do and what to do and what you can do better. And he teaches out of a place of learning from his own experience. I believe it was 2006, he suffered a burnout where it took him like 3 to 4 months to even get back to functional. He said it took him a year to get about 80% functional, another year. So it was a 2-year process of him coming back from burnout. So these are, I have a list of 11 things that he says these are signs of what burnout is. And I don't think you don't have to be this high-level executive leader or this multi-dollar business owner. You can have the busyness of addiction. You can have the busyness of life and children and all that stuff. But here are some signs of what burnout looks like. People that are able to pull themselves off of the edge or from the edge. You would be tired people, but you're still able to back off the edge, so to say. A burned out person falls off that edge. So number one, your passion fades. So the things that give you life, the things that bring you joy, if you like going for nature trail walks and volunteering at the Humane Society or doing art or knitting or whatever that joy is, book reading, it just fades away. You just don't have time for it. It's not important to you anymore. Emotional numbness, not really having ups and not really having downs, but just a plateau of numbness. Disappropriate anger bursts. Just when things happen and people get under your nerves and they get under your nerves for more than 5 minutes, it's just, why do you always? Everyone drains you. And from the perspective of somebody that recharges alone, we all need people. I look forward to every Sunday and I'm like, oh, Isabel's going to be there early. I wonder what she's going to say to me. She's always witty, and I can't wait to see Kirby and Johnny, and they always give me a high five, and Kirby punches me, and then Carrie and Rita, and it's like I look forward to the people that come because I love the connection and I love hanging out, and it doesn't mean that that I can't be energized by people or community. But number 4 is everyone drains you. So it's not that crowds drain. It's just everybody is taking from me. I can't take it anymore. Everybody, you become cynical and just critical. Nothing satisfies you. It's hard to have contentment and joy. Not able to think straight, making bad decisions. Loss of productivity. Self-medicating. Just that need for ease and comfort. Loss of no joy. And not refueled by sleep or time off. I really don't think, from what I've learned, is that we shouldn't be just getting to our vacation. It's like, if I get on this vacation, then, oh my goodness, if I make it there, then everything will be okay. Vacation is just a longer way of taking a break, and shouldn't be the hope of recharging you. And so that kind of stuff, if you're suffering those things, then maybe you're suffering burnout. And you know, I've come to a place with having this sleep apnea stuff, is I just say it's okay. It's okay to be tired. Hey, today's a write-off. And try not to feel guilty about it. And you know, the worst thing, this is what I found out, the worst thing anybody can say to you, there's a lot of bad things. But hey, are you tired? That sucks. Because you're like, no, I'm not tired. And your eyes are all red. And it's like, it's a horrible thing to, so I sometimes say it joking around to the people I love most. Wow, are you tired? What? No, don't say that to people.